victorygracecenter.org, Shine CDC. And I want to just thank our pastor for having the vision, the jazz, to say we need to do something about our children, Larry, and healthy eating. So we put together this workshop for you all today so that we can talk about healthy eating for our kids. So I first want to thank our wonderful pastor, Dr. Jazz. And then I want to thank all of you out there for tuning in today. My name is Larry Parrish, Executive Director for the CDC Shine. And I am joined by some wonderful, wonderful people today. I want to first start with Miss Antoinette and her lovely granddaughter. Antoinette, why don't you introduce the world to you and your lovely granddaughter?
Come in. Victory Day. My name is Antoinette Burrows, and of course, this is my beautiful granddaughter, Chloe Burrows. And we're just so glad to be here with Minister James and Brother Larry to talk about healthy eating for our children.
All right. And I'm joined today by my nephew. What's your name, nephew? All right. I'm joined by Johnny Parrish. And of course, we have our wonderful author, Minister James. He's going to be talking about this wonderful book that he's written, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. But I first want to ask this lovely lady right here, Miss Chloe. Miss Chloe, what do you like to eat? Tell me.
What do you like to eat?
Watermelon.
Watermelon.
What else?
Chickpeas.
Chickpeas.
Chickpeas. Okay. What else?
Broccoli.
Broccoli.
And chickpeas.
And
chickpeas.
Do you like salad?
Yes.
And salad. And what other fruit?
Orange.
Orange. You like potato chips?
Yeah. Yummy.
Yummy. Oh, okay. Yummy. Okay. All right, John, what do you like to eat?
Chicken, fries, burgers.
Chicken, fries,
Mango.
burgers. What else?
Mango.
What about the French fries and the burgers and some of that candy that I see you eating sometimes? I thought so. So, Minister James, why don't you tell us, you've written this wonderful book. I'd like you to introduce yourself to the world out here and tell everyone about what inspired you to write this wonderful book and exactly who you are.
All right. So my name is Minister James Tate. I am the author of the award-winning book, The Cool Kids and the Land of the Giants. And the Cool Kids are a group of Christian friends who will motivate, educate, and inspire children to defeat the giants that have invaded their land, the health-related giants. And in this first book, they take on the giant obesity. I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C. I was an overweight kid, overweight teenager, as well as an overweight adult. And I was involved in an accident in 2007 that damaged the entire left side of my body. And I had 3 years of physical therapy. And my doctors told me my injuries would not heal if I did not lose weight. And the lightest that I can remember being was 275 pounds. And that was when I played football. And so my brother invited me back to church, and I rededicated my life, watch night service 2010 at the First Baptist Church at Glenarden. And so I had to change the way that I eat. I started studying every scripture about food and nutrition and what God says to eat and what he says to stay away from. And at the end of that year, he blessed me to lose 210 pounds. So my weight went from 415 to 205 naturally. And so what I wanted to do was to write this book to educate children the way I wish I was educated when I was a child, to teach me what to eat, what to stay away from, and most importantly, that I could do it all with God on my side.
Wow. Okay. So, Minister James, there's a lot of kids out there that are what's quote unquote we call obese. And I love how you tie in the giant to make the giant the obese person. And I think it's a really, really, really good book. My daughter is 15, but I'm still going to get one for her as well, because you can always continue to learn. But my question is, how did all this come about? Because I love the whole concept of this obese and the way you tell the story in the book.
Yeah, well, I guess it came about because studies have shown that this will be the first. They say that this will be the first generation of children that will not outlive their parents due to childhood obesity and type 2 diabetes. We have a lot of children that have to take insulin shots now because of diabetes. And
Wow.
and that hurt. That really hurt me. And I'm a nutrition therapist and a holistic health practitioner. And so I deal with a lot of adults, but God shifted my focus towards the children as well, because there are a lot of children that are suffering right now. And 95% of the chronic illnesses that we deal with are caused by poor food choices. So I wanted to create this series with Christian superheroes, because superheroes are the main thing nowadays. They're all in the movies and on the TV. So I wanted to create some Christian superheroes that take on health-related giants, because I wanted to teach kids that these are, in fact, diseases. These are giants that we need to evict out of our land. So I wanted to start with obesity, because they say that 1 in every 3 children is overweight or obese now. And then when you shrink that down to urban areas, it goes to 1 in every 2. So it's a problem in our community, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And so I wanted to create a visual way to address it so that kids can learn about it and then pass it along to their friends, and also inspire the parents as well.
Wow. Well, I think that's a great concept. I think it's a great book. I love the little characters in the book, the kids. So were those kids inspired by your kids? Because I just love this. I think it's so phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So the 2 boys, those are my sons, and the girl is my niece. My daughter was not born at the time when this book was released, but she's definitely in the next one. As you can see, this is a preview of 4 of them for the next book. So my daughter is here on the bottom here. And so she's excited for the next one to come out, where they take on another giant that children are facing across the country right now. So I'm excited for that one to be completed, and I can't wait to release that one.
Wow, Mr. James, that's just awesome. Now tell me, I saw in the book, it said 8 steps to healthier and better for our children. What are those 8 steps?
Yeah, so the 8 steps to better health are pray, eat right, pray, drink water, pray, exercise, pray, rest. And so whenever I introduce the 8 steps to better health, I introduce that to children as well as adults. And everyone asks, well, why does pray come before everything? And I base that off of John 15:5, where Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. And so I try to teach the children that you pray before you do anything. You pray before you eat right. You pray before you exercise. You pray before you drink water. You pray before you rest. Pray before you do your homework, before you take your tests. Pray before everything, so that you involve God in everything that you're doing, so that you get better results. So those are the 8 steps to better health. And you follow those steps, health goes up, sickness, illness, and disease goes down.
Wow, wow, Mr. James, I love that. So give me some really good things that maybe I didn't know and some of our audience out there didn't know. What are some of the healthy things that we have our children eating? Because we really, really want to fight this giant.
Yeah, so a lot of things that we need to get children to eat are real food. Right now, a lot of children and adults too, we're eating food-like products. So they're not real food. So the original fast food is fruit. So we want kids to eat fruit and not fruit candy. So we want to introduce children to apples and bananas and oranges and mangoes, like your nephew said. And also we want to definitely introduce them to plums and nectarines and peaches. We have more kids eating peach ring candy than actual peaches. And so we really have to introduce them to those type of foods and introduce them to vegetables as well. And one of the things with me and my 3 children, even though I teach nutrition day in and day out, I have one really picky eater, and he does not like vegetables. He will not eat them, but he will drink them. And so we make a lot of smoothies. And so we put the frozen fruit and some apple juice, and I allow him to put the spinach in, because when you involve your children in the cooking process, they tend to eat or drink what they help to prepare. So that's another tip for parents, is to involve your children in the grocery shop and involve them in the preparation and cooking of the food, and then they'll want to eat it. So if you have those picky eaters that won't eat their vegetables, try to get them to drink the vegetables in a smoothie, because it's a little sweeter, but they still get the benefits of it.
Mr. James, I like what you just said, because let me repeat that. We got a picky eater over here. They do like vegetables, but we know vegetables are good for them. So you took it to the next level to ensure that he was still going to have that nutrition that came from the vegetables, and you put it in a smoothie. I really like that. I'm sure our audience like that as well. So let's say I'm really busy. Of course, with Corona-19, everybody's been in quarantine, but now things are starting to open up. And let's say we're getting back to a somewhat normal. And a lot of times parents are rushing. What we do is we stop by fast food to grab dinner. We see the big old M and we stop by McDonald's. What could be things that we could do besides doing the fast food? Because we know that a lot of times parents are busy and they have to stop sometime and get the fast food. But what suggestions would you give us around that?
Well, for the parents, one of the tips that I tell parents to do is we have to stop trying to squeeze health into our schedule. We have to start to schedule things around our health. And so that involves exercise. That involves prepping food. If you have just one prep day a week, you can, because it doesn't take long to cook the food. It takes a long time to prep the food, the cutting and the chopping and things like that. If you pick one day to cut everything up and put it in little Ziploc bags, that way, when you get home and you're going to cook, you can just dump it right into the pan, and that saves a lot of time. I know time. We live in a time crunch, and all of us, 24 hours is not enough in a day, right? But the thing is that we make time for what we see as important, and so we have to see our health and the health of our children as something important. Because one of the things that I see, a lot of people, I see you have that nice plant right behind you. A lot of people treat their plants better than they treat their children. And when I say that, it means if you see that the plant is withering, you move it towards the sunlight and you give it water. But yet we give our children sodas and juice when our children need water to grow just like that plant. So we definitely have to value our health and schedule things around our health, because without our health, we can't do anything. Without your health, you can't go to work and do the things that you love to do. So learn how to schedule things around your health instead of fitting health into your schedule, trying to squeeze it in.
Mr. J, I love what you just said. We've got to fit that in our schedule and not make it an afterthought. Because I think
Right.
when we're busy, and I was guilty of it as well, when my daughter was small, I'm rushing home from work and you've got to grab something for them to eat. But I love what you said. We've got to do a better job of planning it into our daily routine. I love that. Now, let's say another one. Let's say I have a little child and all they want to do is eat meat. That's all they want to do is eat meat. What advice would you give us?
Well, there are good meats to eat. The thing is that you have to, it's all about, the kind of meat that they eat as well as the preparation of it. So it's always best for you to prepare it yourself and not buy it from a fast food place. Also, try to get them to introduce different cuts and different preparations. So if you have a kid that only eats chicken, it doesn't have to be fried chicken all the time. You can introduce them to different cuts of the chicken. You can grill chicken, roast it, bake it, barbecue it. It doesn't have to be fried all the time. And then you have different parts of the chicken that are healthier than others, with less fat. So it's not so much as trying to get them not to eat meat, but you want to educate them as there are different ways to prepare it. It doesn't always have to be fried, because you'll be surprised. There's some people that think a chicken it can only be fried and there's no other way to prepare it. But as they eat that, you want to introduce them to the vegetables and also the fruits and the whole grains as well to have a complete meal. So also the other thing is the portion size, because when it comes to protein, the protein that you have, like the chicken, is supposed to be the size of your palm. Not the fingers, not the whole hand. It's supposed to be the size of your palm. And so
those portions, I love it.
Right. The portions. And that's where we get in trouble, because we go so far above and beyond the portions. So if they have the meat the size of their palm, they'll be fine, because the world has told us that we need to have meat with a side of vegetables, where in fact we're supposed to have vegetables with a side of meat. So you're supposed to have more vegetables than meat on the plate. That's not to say that you can't have it, but you want to have those vegetables there.
Okay, so now, we get ready to get into the summer months. Kids love ice cream. They love sweets. But what are some alternative things that we can give kids and still make it fun and interactive through the summer, and giving them other things that they would like to get for treats and things? Because it's going to be hot, and the first thing they're going to want to do is get a soda or some juice or some ice cream. Can you tell us some of the things that we could do to maybe balance that out more?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So one of the things that I do with my kids is that we make smoothies, but also we'll make our own popsicles too. And so you could get an old school ice tray and get some 100% juice and pour the juice in the ice tray and then put some saran wrap over it and put the toothpicks in it or the popsicle sticks in it and throw it in the freezer. And then you have freeze pops that are made from 100% fruit, which is actually going to be better for them than the ones we get from the store with all of the added sugar to it. So you can make them all different flavors. Just make sure that it's 100% juice. And if you use 100% juice, then you're okay. Don't do anything with the added sugar. So you can have a lot of fun this summer making your own snacks at home, and their bodies will actually thank you for doing that.
Wow. Okay, that's great. So I love to pray and eat and exercise. So before we go take some questions, I got one last question for you. So those of you can start putting your questions in. How do we get our kids to exercise more? I love the healthy eating. It's been social distance and distance learning, and they only get recess in school, so they've got another week for school or 2 weeks for school. How do we be better parents to make sure our kids are getting that exercise as well?
That's a great question, and I know some parents will not like the answer I'm going to say, but that means you have to exercise as well. Kids will do what they see you do. So number one, parents, we have to eat right. We have to drink water. We have to exercise. And when the parents see you when the kids see their parents doing that, they'll actually go further beyond than what you're doing. So if you want to see your child exercise, you have to exercise, because when I exercise or my wife exercise, the kids come running into the room wanting to join in. And so you have to exercise, parents. And that you can't just tell your kids, go outside and run around while you're sitting on the couch watching TV, eating ice cream. So you have to exercise, and that encourages them to exercise too.
100% juice. I love it. So George, I want to ask you a question. So if I gave you the choice of a bowl of ice cream or a bowl of broccoli, which one would you take?
Well, ice cream.
Bowl of ice cream? Okay. Which one do you think is more healthier though for you? The bowl of ice cream or the bowl of broccoli? Okay, you're a real smart young man. Let's see if we got any questions out here on YouTube. So we want to open it up for some questions. I'm going to tell you, Minister James, I want to tell you how you guys can get the book, but we love to hear from you and see what type of questions that you have out there. Pray right, eat right, exercise, drink plenty of water. 100%. I mean, he's just shared some wonderful, wonderful things with us. So, Minister James, why don't you tell everybody how they can get this wonderful book, and then we'll see what questions that we have come in.
Yes, so you can find this book as well as Cool Kids apparel on my website, which is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. It's www.wealthyentertainment, and wealthy is spelled WELLTHY entertainment.store. So once again, that's www.wealthyentertainment.store. And we call it Wealthy Entertainment because everything that we create it in hopes of helping kids to become rich in love, rich in knowledge, rich in health, and especially rich in Christ.
Wow. We've got some questions coming in. It says, can you share what the 3 cool kids ate all day yesterday and some ideas of what to place in their lunch boxes?
Oh, that's a great question. So the cool kids, they actually like different things. So I have one that will eat vegetables all day long. So my oldest loves vegetables. So he'll ask for rice and mixed vegetables or quinoa and mixed vegetables. My middle one, he's addicted to peanut butter. So he'll eat peanut butter and jelly all day long. He doesn't eat pizza. He doesn't eat chicken. He doesn't eat a lot of meat, but he loves peanut butter and jelly. But he also loves smoothies. My daughter, she eats anything. If you offer it, she's going to eat it. So the deal that we have is that you have to have a smoothie at least once a day. And that's how they get their vegetables. My oldest will eat vegetables. The other 2, they will not eat vegetables. So they have to get a smoothie every day. And so they do that. And of course, I involve them in the making and preparation of that. As far as their lunch boxes go, they always get some type of sandwich, some type of fruit. They have their whole grains. They have their foods with calcium. If they have a juice box, it has to be 100% juice, not from concentrate and no added sugar. But they prefer fruit more than anything. So the fruit cups, mandarin oranges. And if you buy fruit cups, never buy the kind that are in syrup. You always want to buy fruit cups with the fruit in fruit juice, because if you get the ones that are that have syrup, that's a whole lot of added sugar that will damage their bodies over time. So you want to make sure that you get the fruit cups that are in juice and not syrup. So that's pretty much what they like. They're simple, sandwiches, fruit, but they always ask for at least 2 different fruits. And so I'm grateful and thankful for that.
I love what you said, Mr. James, about the peanut butter and jelly, because that's one of my favorites right there. The peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can never go wrong.
Exactly.
Never go wrong.
I still eat them.
Okay, we got another question coming from. Okay, it says, what type of peanut butter would you suggest? Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of people would think that's straightforward because there's a lot of peanut butters on the market that don't contain a lot of peanuts. They contain more oil and sugar than peanuts. So if you read the ingredient label of any product, whatever's listed first, that's what it contains the most of. So if you pick up a jar of peanut butter, you want the first ingredient to be peanuts. Another thing is that if you can get organic peanut butter, go ahead and do that. But if you cannot, you want to make sure that it doesn't have a lot of sugar or no sugar at all. And it doesn't have a lot of oils in it, because they use a lot of oils in peanut butter. So if you could find a peanut butter that has peanuts, maybe a little bit of salt and a high quality oil, then you're good. But you don't want a lot of sugar in your peanut butter.
Yeah, and we don't want a lot of sugar and syrup in our fruit cups that you just talked about. I thought that was great too. So I have one more question for you. So I've got let's say I got 3 children, and I'm trying to eat healthy, but I'm on a fixed income, and I'm trying to stretch every dollar. So I may not buy what's healthy. I may buy what's cheap. Any suggestions that you could give to our audience out there if they may be, struggling with that? I'm trying to get this over here that's less in sodium, but I'm getting this over here because it's cheap.
Right. So that's a great question. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And so one of the things that I do is I always ask people to write down their expenses. And so when you write down your expenses, that helps to see your priorities as well, because not to judge anyone, but if you're paying $200 or $300 for cable and you're paying $50 for your groceries, once you make your health a priority, you start to spend more on your health and less on other things. Also, if you're on a strict budget, you can you can just make the wisest choice of what you're presented with in the store. If you can only afford things, if you stop at a fast food restaurant, you don't have to get the double burger. All you need is the kids meal, because you're eating so you're not hungry, right? And so basically, if you go get fast food, all you need is the kids meal, because the kids meal is going to take the hunger away. You don't need the extra large number 4 or number 5. You just get the kids meal, and that also saves you money as well. The most important thing that you could do is you can pray and ask God, because God wants us to be healthy. Because when we're healthy, we're able to do what he's called us to do. And so you pray and ask God, how can I do this? How can I do that? How can I get healthier food? And he will direct your path. He does it all the time, because he does not, he's Jehovah Rapha. That means he's the God who heals, and he wants us to be healthy. And when he sees that you are taking a step to honor him with your eating and your drinking, he's going to make a way for you to get the better food. Also, being in this area, they actually call the DMV area the land of milk and honey, because we have a lot of farms in this area. And so you want to research your farms, because there are different farms around the area, from Baltimore all the way down to Southern Maryland, that sell huge boxes of vegetables for $5. Or if you don't have money, you work on the farm or work in the garden, and then you get a huge trash bag full of whatever you pick for free, because you put in the work. So those are the things that we have to do. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's out there. And so you just research that, and there are ways to do it. But the first thing you should do is always ask God for direction.
Okay, wonderful. We've got some more questions coming in. I love it. Do you suggest frozen fruit or bags of fruit or the fresh fruit?
Either or, actually. Frozen fruit, they usually freeze it as soon as it's picked. That's a great way to get fruit that's not in season. If a fruit is in season and you're able to get it fresh, that's great. Go to your farmer's market or your grocery store and you're able to get those fruits. But frozen fruit is fine. There's nothing wrong with frozen fruit. A lot of people, I know in the past, people would think, oh, don't buy frozen vegetables, don't buy frozen fruit. But actually, some of the frozen fruits are better than the fresh fruits now because you can get frozen organic fruit cheaper than you can the fresh fruit.
Oh, okay. Here's another question. How do I get my 8-year-old to eat more vegetables?
Pray. No, that's very important. But there are ways to sneak vegetables in depending on what your child likes to eat. But like I mentioned earlier, get your child involved in the preparation of the food. And also smoothies. Smoothies is a great way because it actually masks the vegetables, whether you use spinach or kale or some type of green leafy vegetable. Also, there are vegetables that once you prepare them a certain way, it actually brings a sweetness out of the vegetable.
Wow.
So there are some kids who, like if you roast corn, like my middle child, the only vegetable he will eat is corn. He won't eat anything else. But like I said, he will drink his vegetables.
Corn now. I love it.
He likes corn, but you can put spinach, kale, any type of chard or anything in a smoothie, and he will drink it. Or he drinks green juice. So if we make juice, he will drink that as well. So he loves like apple and kale juice, so he drinks that. But if a child likes spaghetti, what you can do is you can roast vegetables in the oven and then take those vegetables and puree them in a blender and then pour it into the sauce. So the child, I mean, I don't want you to sneak around your kids, but if you pour it in the sauce, the kid won't see the vegetables and they eat the spaghetti full of vegetables and have no idea that they're there.
Okay, we got another one. Okay, what can you share beyond burgers about the protein substance?
That's a great question. So there are a lot of vegan faux meats that have come out, like the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger and things like that. They're good if you're trying to stay away from meat, but to be honest, they're a science experiment. And so you don't want to make that a habit of eating them every day, all the time. It's a science experiment. So it's always better to eat real food. And so when you eat your real food, your body will thank you. Even it's a great alternative because it doesn't have like cholesterol, lowering fat than the actual beef itself. But you don't want to make that a habit of eating it very often. One of the ways that we just have to follow Jesus's model, because Jesus ate fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. He ate fish almost every day. And if they ate red meat, it was only during special occasions for weddings, parties or something like that. Whereas now we eat meat for breakfast, meat for lunch, meat for dinner. And it takes a lot for your body to break that down and process it and digest it. And so we overwork our bodies and that's where we get sick. So we can all do without eating meat at least one day a week to give your body that rest.
That's really good. What about this? What if my child is actually allergic to peanut butter? What are some of the things that I can give them?
Right. So there are basically, if there's a nut, they make butter out of it. If your child is allergic to nuts, or all nuts, then you don't want to do that, of course. But if it's just peanuts that your child is allergic to, they have almond butter, they have walnut butter, they have cashew butter, they have pecan butter, sunflower seed butter. So there's a butter pretty much for every seed and nut out there. Also, they make, which isn't that healthy, but they make cookie butter as well. So they make it out of like shortbread cookies. And they usually advertise that for kids that still like the consistency of peanut butter and jelly, but cannot have any nuts. So that's another alternative, but you don't want to overdo that because they're just pureed cookies. So you don't want to have sugar on top of sugar with the jelly. But there are a lot of options, and there are more options now today than there were a few years ago for kids that had peanut allergies.
Okay, so I got one more question, and then we'll see if any more questions come in the chat. So let's say that, I heard everything that you said, and I'm still trying to get my child to eat healthy, but I just can't. They still only want to eat meat, or they only want to eat processed foods. And I know you're probably saying, well, that's because you're buying it. But again, I go back to, well, I'm buying what I can afford. I'm trying to stretch every dollar. What advice would you give us before questions and we get out of here?
Yeah. So the thing is, the reason why a lot of kids and adults cannot stop eating certain things is because they're addicted to it. A lot of the foods, especially the fast foods, they contain a lot of sugar and also a lot of chemicals. And so you actually get an addiction to those foods because processed refined sugar is actually more addictive than heroin and cocaine. And so there are a lot of children who are addicted to sugar, a lot of adults that are addicted to sugar. So we could talk about, hey, stop eating this. You need to eat this all day until, the cows come home. But it's actually a lot of people are fighting an addiction. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, was because this giant is much bigger than, we actually think it is. And we really, really need Christ in order to defeat the giants, these health related giants that have invaded our land. It's not an easy thing. And as you see in the book, the kids have to work together in order to defeat it, because you cannot defeat obesity by yourself. You cannot defeat diabetes by yourself. It takes a team effort with Christ leading the way. And so it may not happen overnight, but what we have to do is we have to lead by example, continue to pray, and continue to be that example for our children and for ourselves as well. Because, the adults have to lead the charge, but you'll be surprised that there are a lot of children who have read this book and started to apply the 8 steps and the principles, and they end up turning their parents around as well, because kids will dictate the food that comes into the home. And so I'm glad of the emails that I receive from parents that say, hey, my kid wants to eat this and wants to eat that. And now I'm changing as well. So just be patient with it. Don't try to force it, because when you try to force people, they tend to step back and they become rebellious. But just one day at a time, one meal at a time, one drink at a time, one exercise at a time, and continue to let God lead the way, and it will eventually happen.
Wow. Someone just said, thank you so much for sharing this information. Amazing tips for adults too. God bless you. That's what someone just wrote.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I love this, Minister James, because what you're doing is you're helping us prevent heart failure, high blood pressure, diabetes, all the things that you said. And it starts as a child, because if that child is obese, 9 times out of 10, when you get to the adult life, then that obesity is going to follow you. And then come those ailments like the high blood pressure, the diabetes, you name it. So I think this is awesome, starting with our children that
Thank you.
Dying. So before we sign off, what would you tell? What's the 1, 2, 3 things you would leave the audience today, and then give one more plug for your book?
Okay. So one of the things that I will leave is just, you want to honor God with your eating and your drinking. That's actually a scripture in the Bible. It says to honor God, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all to the glory of God. Another thing that I like to say is that your body is a multi-million-dollar machine. So,
wait a minute, say that one more time. Wait. I don't think they got that. Say that again. You said a multi what?
A multi-million-dollar machine.
Wow.
The average human body is valued at $45 million. So if you drove $1 million car, what type of fuel would you put in it?
Okay, I like that.
So you cannot put low-grade fuel in this high-performance vehicle and expect it to perform the way it is designed to perform. So what we have to do is we have to take care of this body, because it's the only body that you get. And this is actually, your body is actually the most expensive thing that many of us will ever be in possession of. So you definitely want to take care of that. And you take care of that by eating right, by moving and exercising, by drinking water, and also getting enough rest. But in order to do those things, we have to pray before we do anything and keep God first. And then if you take care of your body will definitely take care of you. And you will be blessed to live and see a long life. And God wants us to be healthy, like I said, because once we're healthy, we're able to do what he has called us to do and go therefore and make disciples of all nations.
Love it. Now, tell everybody one more time, how can we get this wonderful book? It's just so the whole family could actually go through it and tell the story and have fun, but at the same time, you're learning along the process, and we are defeating that giant of obesity.
Yes, yes. So you can pick up your copy of The Cool Kids and the Land of the Giants on my website, which is www.wealthyentertainment.store. And wealthy is spelled WELLTHY entertainment.store, where you will see the book as far as and t-shirts and backpacks as well.
Wow. Well, I want to thank Antoinette and Chloe and my nephew, John, but we really want to thank you, Minister James. So on behalf of Dr. Jazz and myself and the CDC Shine, Shine stands for sharing hope in a negative experience. And you definitely share some hope in a negative experience. And by golly, I know that we're going to defeat this giant with your help and all of the parents out there getting this book and putting our kids on a better, healthier life. I love what you said about pray before we exercise, pray before we eat, pray before we drink the water. I love all of that. I think the tips are good. I think this has definitely shared some light on obesity so that we can stop this generational curse of this obesity
Yes.
going us into adult life. So again, on behalf of the CDC Shine and our pastor, Dr. Jazz, we just want to thank you for imparting this wonderful, wonderful knowledge into our young kids so that we will defeat that giant.
And thank you for having me. I
And
appreciate and love you all. Thank you so much.
right back at you, my brother. And again, this is Sharing Hope in a Negative Experience. I've been your host today, Larry Parrish, the Executive Director for the CDC Shine, and our wonderful pastor, Dr. Jazz, having all of these visions of making sure that our kids are eating right at a very early age. So I hope you guys go out and get the book. It's a great book. I got mine. Go get yours. Thanks, and we'll see you next time on same place. Thank you all. It's a victory day, everyone. And don't forget to go out and get the book. It is awesome, 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 awesome. And I believe we're having a little technical difficulty, but we are done. If anybody have any more questions, you can put it in there. We'll